Hi everyone, my name is Leili Seifi, an associate professor at the University of Birjan and a member of the 2024 ESC Pitch Competition Planning Team. Today I interview Kellee Forkenbrock, one of the ESC directors and 2024 ESC Pitch Competition Planning Team. Hi Kellee, and thank you so much for joining me for the conversation.
Hi, Leili. Thank you so much for having me.
So Kellee, could you please tell us about yourself to our audiences?
Absolutely. I am Kellee Forkenbrock. I am Public Services Librarian for North Liberty Library. We're located in North Liberty, Iowa, which is roughly 15 minutes away from the University of Iowa campus. So we are near a college town. Our community, North Liberty, Iowa, serves roughly 25,000 residents. Our library has been around for this is the 40th year that we've been around. We were established in 1984. I myself have been with the library for 5 years. For the previous 20 years of my career, I worked in the private sector in many fields, including public relations, project management, sales, and marketing.
Thanks, great. Kelly, how we could strengthen libraries as a hub for entrepreneurship?
Oh, that's a great question. Working with entrepreneurs is my passion. It's been my passion since the beginning of my career after I graduated with my undergraduate degree in 2000. Working one on one, not only with local businesses, but with budding entrepreneurs is something I've been able to bring into my role as a librarian. I think the best way that libraries can be a resource for entrepreneurs is to let them know that we exist. Very often, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs who are our neighbors, our community members, they may not see the library, especially a public library, as a resource or an enclave for business purposes or professional purposes. So the onus is really on the library to boast about what they have. And that means you don't have to go out and buy a whole lot of resources and services. Think about what's already within your four walls. If you have meeting room space, those can be co-working spaces. And it's also about another reach out is really kind of centering your language around business terms. So the meeting rooms are a perfect example. When you talk with entrepreneurs, you can tell them you have meeting rooms, or you can tell them that you have free co-working spaces. Which of those phrases do you think are going to be more attractive to an entrepreneur? Meeting rooms or free co-working spaces? Most entrepreneurs already have meeting rooms, especially if they work for a brick and mortar building. What they don't have are free co-working spaces. Co-working spaces, our library is across the street from a co-working space, and the rent there can be upwards of hundreds of dollars a month, where they can get the same service, the same privacy, the same needs at the local library for absolutely $0. So I think the number one way libraries can reach out to entrepreneurs is to tell entrepreneurs about your services in language that they can understand, language that aligns with their business needs.
Thank you. And Kelly, how libraries could meet business information needs of small businesses?
Yeah, small businesses, especially when you are a public library, those should be your main focuses. Now, you can partner with bigger businesses for events, for marketing purposes, if that's permissible, and partnerships. But it's your small businesses. Those small business entrepreneurs are the ones who are most familiar with your library. Your small entrepreneurs, they are the folks who are typically working 9 to 5, and then bringing their kids to the library on the weekend. And you may not even know that they're kind of a weekend warrior, what I call a weekend warrior. A weekend warrior to me is an individual who's a budding entrepreneur who still maintains a 9 to 5 gig. So letting them know that you're available, that's so important. But I think the best way to connect with small business entrepreneurs is to make them your central focus when it comes to building out your asset map of businesses and professional services. Put your small business entrepreneurs at the top. Those are your community members. Those are people who are invested in your library as a patron. most likely. So really invest in them. A few ways that you can do that: you can start with a book display. Start with a book display. Grab some books from your nonfiction sections about business and small business and entrepreneurship. Create a create a display. I mean, that costs you absolutely $0. You're using, again, the main idea is to use the materials that you already have. You do not have to revamp your library to serve entrepreneurs. You do not have to revamp your collection to serve professional needs. What you have is plenty, but you've got to go out, seek it, and then position it so that your local entrepreneurs can see it. So I would say that's one good way to start. Another good way to start is, as you meet, you're going to have to leave the library. Now, I know that's not possible for a lot of libraries. I'm a part of a small and rural library myself, and I have librarian friends and colleagues who are solo librarians, meaning they are the only person that works in their library. So the lights don't come on unless they're there. If you have at least one other person working with you in your library, which I venture to say has to be about 90% of public libraries, if you have at least one other person, either you or that other person should be leaving the library building at least once a week to introduce yourself to local entrepreneurs and business owners. You've got to leave the building. I know that we live in this world, especially post-pandemic, where everybody's just a Zoom call away. But there's still something to be said, and this is the salesperson in me coming out. There's still something to be said about face-to-face contact. So leaving the library building is the best way to reach out to small business entrepreneurs. And then move into programming. Start talking with them about possibly partnering on programming. It can start small. It can be a business ventures 101 event. It could be a meet and greet. You can create a panel of small business entrepreneurs right in your own backyard and showcase them. I did an event like that called Business Beyond Borders for our library. We did this past July in 2023. We had over 35 attendees, and we had 5 panelists, and each of those panelists were immigrants who are now living in this community, who have created businesses literally from the ground up. And showcasing their voices is a big way to bring entrepreneurship down to a level where someone who may be even just thinking about starting a business can really start to relate. So those are my 3 tips for how you reach out to small businesses. Number 1, put them at the top of your list on your asset map. Number 2, leave the building. You have to actually go out and meet people and introduce yourself to them. And number 3, create quick events that you can make: panels, meet and greets, mixers. Those are easy events that you can plan that don't cost a lot of money, but really provide a lot of impact.
Thank you. Very useful tips. So, Kellee, how your library could contribute to local job creation?
Oh, that's a great question. Workforce development is something I'm starting to take a closer look at in my networking duties. One way that you can get in charge with get in front of the workforce is to look at your current hiring needs. Are you currently hiring any positions? Okay, reach out to your local workforce development office. Introduce yourself. Say, hey, we're looking for work right now, but we also are looking to expand our workforce development offerings. That's one thing you can do. Reach out to your local workforce development office, usually a government entity, federal entity if you're in the US. Another thing that you can do is go to job fairs. Go to job fairs, go to chamber meetings, go to chamber mixers, get to know your community through the people who are reaching out to folks who need jobs. So go to those events as much as you can. Another thing is, just as you would market the library to employers, market your library to employees. People who are looking for work, what do they need? They need Wi-Fi access. They need resume help. They need meeting rooms for remote interviews. Most libraries have these things. You have Wi-Fi. Most libraries do have free Wi-Fi in some capacity, whether it's in the whole building or on devices. So you have free Wi-Fi. Most libraries have meeting rooms where folks who are interviewing for jobs can use, so that they're not interviewing from their car, they're not interviewing from their house with a bunch of kids and adults running around. And then we also have resources for resume building. Now, if you're lucky enough to have someone on staff who can have one-on-one meetings, maybe your adult services librarian can have one-on-one meetings with folks to help with resume help, that's great. If you don't have that individual, that's fine too. Again, go to your collection. If you have a nonfiction business section, you probably have a resume book or two in there. Put those on display, recommend them. When people come to the library, they're really not only looking for books and free Wi-Fi, they're looking for social connection. And if you listen to your patrons will tell you, I'm looking for work right now. Are you hiring? And if you're not hiring, or if this is a person who's looking for a job totally different from what you're hiring for, use that opportunity to say, no, unfortunately, we're not hiring, but let me show you a few books. If you need some help with resume help, or if you need some help with job search, let me hook you up on one of our free computers with free Wi-Fi. So use those opportunities just as you would market the library to an employer, do the same for an employee. So those would be my tips for reaching out to folks who are in workforce development and also looking for work.
Thank you so much. That's really great. Kelly, what are possible ways that libraries could support entrepreneurs and particularly women, people of color, immigrants, and veterans?
Great question. As a public librarian, we are very, I think one of the things that makes us so lucky is that we are led by a director who believes in inclusion, and they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. And remember, that does start from the top down. Just like any business, just like with libraries, start from the top down. So talk with your director, and if you are the director, figure out who are your constituents in your community. What is your community makeup? I mean, if that means you have to download your local census, in the States we have the census. If you need to download your census to see what your diverse population makeup is, are you a place where there's lots of stay-at-home moms? Are you a place where there's a lot of Black and brown people? You need to know those numbers so you know who you're reaching out to. Because if you live in a place where there are lots of Black and brown people, but you're catering your library to people who are not Black and brown, then the people who are Black and brown are not going to come to your library, and they are not going to consider your library as a professional resource. So number one, take stock of, down to the census numbers, what your community's makeup demographic looks like. From there, then you can create events based on that makeup. So if you have a strong population of working mothers, if you have a strong population of single mothers who are looking to get into entrepreneurship, create a Women's Day event, for example, where you have a local businesswoman come in and provide best practices and tips, provide free headshots. Highlight, do, like I mentioned with Business Beyond Borders, if you have a large immigrant population, invite some of those professionals who also happen to be immigrants to have a panel, to have an event. You want to amplify those voices. You don't want to speak for them. So you want to make sure that you're providing a space where people of color or women or seniors or whatever that population you're trying to reach out to, that they have a platform. Again, you don't want to speak for them. You want to provide the platform so that they can speak for themselves. And that's just as easy as creating a mixer or a panel event.
Thank you. Thank you so much. These are really important. Thank you. And Kelly, what do you hope 2024 ESC pitch competition to achieve?
Well, I always love attending the pitch competition. It's just a fun time to get to know other libraries across the world because we're global. And it's such a wonder. I've been a part of the ELC community since I became a librarian 5 years ago. And to serve as a director and just have a view at our new committee doing their work has been a joy. I've been a part of several committees for ELC. So it's great to kind of sit back and see the magic happen with our committee who donates so much of their time to pull off this event. I think one thing I'm looking forward to the pitch event is just hearing about new ideas. I mean, there have been times where I've listened at ELC pitch events and people have pitched ideas and I thought, wow, actually work in my library. And, just getting that inspiration from the ideas of fellow librarians is absolutely something I'm looking forward to. I love hearing the ideas. I love seeing the pitches. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. And any other thoughts would you like to share?
Sure. Again, my name's Kellee Forkenbrock. You can reach me on most social platforms. I am on LinkedIn, so I'm on LinkedIn very often. So please send me a message, hit me with a request. I'd love to connect there. Also, please be sure to follow all of the ELC pages. We have a page on LinkedIn, and then we also have our entrelib.org website. So please stay tuned there. And I hope to see everyone at the pitch competition.
I hope so. Thank you so much for this great conversation, Kellee.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leili. Have a good day.
Have a good day too.